Ladies and gentlemen, he needs no introduction, so let me present him to you, Omoyele Sowore'S.
Daddy Freeze,
How are you doing, my wonderful brother?
I'm very good. Thank you so much for having me on your channel today.
Thank you so
Sorry,
much for us. And it's quite a while. The last time we saw was when I interviewed while I was still in Cool FM.
yes,
So how have
yes,
you
good.
been?
I used to be a regular on your show in those days, but I had the
Yes,
life
yes,
now.
yes, yes. I can remember that clearly. So, quite a lot has transpired. And, I want us to go straight to the point. You're very, very busy. Let's start with the most important thing. This is what people want to hear. What is your current stance on the NSAS protest?
Oh, my stance is very clear and it's in the public domain. In fact, I started in Abuja the first NSAS protest last Thursday. Took a number of Nigerians who are members of Revolution Now to the police headquarters and protested there. We took with us a symbol, which is blood of cow that we got about 2 gallons of, about 5 gallons of cow blood. And we sprayed it as a symbolism of the people who have been killed in front of the police department. Aisha was there, Aisha Yusufu. Deji Adeyonju was there, Raf Adebayo was there, and a lot of us. This was broadcast live on my channel and on Sahara Reporters. So I'm totally for NSAS. But here is where I'm a little different. And I won't hide it, that. I believe that NSAS is just a symbol of the pent up anger in the country. It's just like this is the best way and the best time to strike. And I think people are fighting, NSAS are also fighting against insecurity, they are fighting against incompetence, they are fighting against the labor leaders who sold them out after the regime increased prices of petroleum products. So it's a holistic movement. But the truth is that when sometimes we get in the middle of a revolution, people don't know it because they're still expecting. It's just like, rapture. You still be asking, when is it coming? It's like, I'm going to use a lot of biblical connotations today. It's not like the Noah's Ark, people were just doubting it, when is it going to rain? Like the cloud is, the sky is still blue. So, and when it came, it was too late to get on the ark.
To get shelter, yeah.
Yes. So, to answer your question again, I support NSAS completely, yes. In fact, so that you know, in 2017, when Sega Awosanya was setting NSAS up, I was one of the first, not the first, he invited. And I was part of NSAS for a little bit before I left because I was in the US and there was so much going on. Sahara Reporters was big enough for me. So I decided that they should do it, whatever I can do to give them support in terms of media coverage. But I was one of the first set of people who was in the WhatsApp group with Sega Awosanya, the guy known as Sega Link. The other guy was Abdul Mahmoud, who is known as Great Oracle on Twitter. And somebody actually brought it out yesterday, screenshots of how I joined and left that WhatsApp group. So I'm not new to NSAS.
Okay, your opinion, is there any significant correlation, any significant contrast between Revolution Now and the NSAS movement?
No, there's none. The only difference is that NSAS is a spontaneous movement, it's a leaderless movement. And Revolution Now has a group that manages Revolution Now. It's called CORE. core is a coalition for revolution. So we are organized in that regard. But the interesting thing is that NSAS is part of our own demands, the revolution now demands. It's the end to brutality, against citizens, the police brutality, and all forms of brutality. Because, look, at the end of the day, you're talking about SARS, but there's the anti-kidnapping unit, there's the anti-cultism unit, you have the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Navy, civil defense. Man, anybody will beat you up in this country. They'll strip you naked, I mean, it's a crime in this country to wear military camouflage. In 2020,
Oh, yeah.
Yes, somebody, if you are wearing a military camouflage in Nigeria, some soldier will come and strip you naked. So while you're shouting about SARS, you've got all kinds of impunity in the land. But most importantly, is to look at it holistically. If you end SARS, does it end hunger? Does it end starvation? Does it end unemployment? Does it end a regime that is divisive and have no respect for human rights, that detains people, that introduces operations to kill peaceful protesters in the southeast? Does it end the corruption that's going on in NDDC, the central bank, and all of the impunities that I cannot count here today? But to get back to your question, there's no difference because we are all pushing towards a goal. But there are some nuances that are different. We are nuanced towards holistically addressing all the issues. Some people think because it's a spontaneous reaction, they want to get this done with and go back home to their normal lives. We don't think so in Revolution Now.
Okay, let's go back to your very explosive tweet that snowballed into what we have today. Please expatiate, because a lot of people want to know. Can you expatiate on that tweet so that Nigerians can understand where you are from? And sorry, please raise your head a little because I can't see your mouth.
Which tweet exact tweet are you talking about? Because I send it almost every hour these days.
Oh yeah. Let me get it for you. The one that said some people are becoming billionaires. SARS movement.
Yes.
And if possible, you have any names, dates, figures, individuals, groups, anything that you can do.
Yes. You know that apart from being an activist, I'm an investigative journalist, even though I'm not actively practicing today. What I said, which may not have been properly presented in my tweet, I wish you could read the tweet, is that I'm not going to be part of any negotiation. I said some people have entered into these negotiations and come out to become billionaire on the other side because they take it as a game. I was referring to any form of negotiation wherever there is heat on the system. And I can count all of them. I can count the Niger Delta militancy, the negotiation that followed. People became billionaires after they negotiated and abandoned. Some of them don't even live in the Niger Delta region anymore. Right? I can count even recent negotiation with Labour, right? In which there's one now in which NANS leaders were paid $200,000.
Oh, I saw that.
Yes, it was a negotiation from the NNPC. But regarding this one, and let me be specific, you can read my tweets again. They decided that they should go and open the vault of the NNPC and the Central Bank of Nigeria to stop these NSAS protests. And they reached out, billionaires, this is not hidden. And they started having meetings with select people who are not, this is a leaderless movement now. They were having meetings with select people, Central Bank Governor, Dangote, some bank executives were on it. They were also having meetings with social media influencers, having meetings with celebrities. And what we know, or what I know, was that it was geared towards whatever necessary to end the protest. So in my tweets, I was referring to what has happened in the past and what the likelihood will be, considering what I know of history, contemporary history, and what I know their plans are to truncate this particular movement. That was what my tweet was. My tweet was very clear. It had not addressed specific cases yet. But I can guarantee you that when I find out if any money was given yet, we will put it out there. There's no question about it. But I can tell you that the central bank and NFPC officials have been given the go-ahead to give as much money as possible. And I'll take you back to 2012, when we had Occupy Nigeria. Trust me, people became billionaires to put an end to Occupy Nigeria protest. I don't want to mention names now because we don't have that time on your show. But people became billionaires after Occupy Nigeria got to a point where the government felt threatened. So I'm not the kind of person that makes frivolous, statements on Twitter. These are verifiable facts that have been done. But I understand that people who actually carried out those kind of bribery in the past and the ones who are doing it now genuinely felt aggrieved that we are even touching on the matter, because that was bad for business. That was bad for business.
Okay, considering the fact that you were arrested and detained for the people, you feel betrayed, you feel let down by the way the protesters treated you in the last video we saw of.
No, not at all. See, the video I was explaining to you in brief was designed to be like that. So when I arrived there to the venue, I've attended every protest, apart from the one we started on Thursday. I've attended Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Any protest that happened after that. The only day I didn't go was the day before yesterday. So yesterday, I went in there because I'm always in the background. I know it's a leaderless movement. I don't want to be the leader of the movement, even though I'm convinced that the movement will need a leader at a point if it's going to succeed, because there has to be structures, there has to be organs, and there has to be ideology for any movement to succeed. There's no movement in the world, social movement in the world, that has ever achieved any purpose without some form of organization. Otherwise, like I said, it will fizzle out. So they planned this. They have put a bounty on my head since Sahara reporters reported that there was a negotiation between some celebrities in Lagos and the Lagos State Legislative Arm, the National, where they had an agreement to call off the protest for 72 hours, which was supposed to resume on Tuesday. They also had issues with members of Revolution now using our berets, distributing our leaflets. They had all those problems because they were wondering if that would make it feel like because we started it, we will own it. I think the calculation for these people, right? The calculation for these people is that I cannot be co-opted into negotiation. I will never go to a negotiation. And as I'm speaking with you, it's public knowledge. There has been 3 negotiations already until it became contentious. Then people withdrew from it. A bunch of Zoom meetings, you've seen them, I'm sure, with Central Bank Governor, with Dangote, and several other people. But the question you ask yourself, who nominated anybody to go for negotiation with MFL? I'm not aware of where a meeting was held. So they know that I can't be part of a negotiation. Because when we went to the police department last week, the force headquarters, right, they asked that I should allow Frank Uba to speak to our group, and I refused. Don't forget that this government, since the protest started, has been looking for leaders. First, it was Paul on Naira Marley to do an IG live, like I'm on IG live with Frank Uba. It didn't work, right? And then they had some underground meetings with some social media influencers. It didn't work. And then they brought in Davido to the force headquarters until Davido said that he never attended the protest But Davido knew after he came out of sports headquarters that he was not representing anybody. So after that, they had a few meetings with people, different people. They wanted to break the back of the strikers. So for refusing to be part of that, they put a bounty on my head. And I'll put it to you now, right? Because some of them are your regulars. I'm an equal opportunity offender, which you know a little bit about because you offend church people. I offend church and politics combined. And they will never forgive you. There are the Jonathan people who will never forgive Sahara reporters because Jonathan was kicked out of office for all the exposes we did against him. There are also the Buhari people who will never forgive us because we took on Buhari and were exposing him as soon as he took over power. And then there are the powerful group of influencers, both on social media, offline, and online, who want to be the new leader of the opposition. They are all there. They have been attacking me on my Twitter line, on Instagram and Facebook before now to create the condition for a physical attack. But when I got there and they said, "Oh, I can't lead," I told them, "You can't force anybody," because some of them were superfluous arguments. They said I was wearing a T-shirt that had "Revolution Now." And I said, when did it become your right to tell people what to wear? Except you are Buhari, who is a dictator. You can't tell anybody what to wear to a protest. A protest is a place, is a democratic ground for expressing grievance. You understand? So they are all there in different circles and cocoons, and their grounds different. But when it comes to Sowore, you will see the unity of Buhari people and Jonathan's people. You will see the unity of people that stories have been written against on Sahara Reporter. It's the unity of the oppressors against the oppressed. So that it wasn't new to me. But contrary to what they presented, I never left the ground. I stayed there after they tried to harass me and bully me, and they started coming back to me and apologizing. Some of them, not all of them. And when I was leaving, this was live streamed. When I was leaving, they followed me en masse to say, NSAS now, because they realized that it was a planned work to isolate us, Revolution Now people, from NSAS. Because otherwise, one of the guys who confronted me said I wasn't wearing an NSAS shirt. And I asked him, "You're wearing a red shirt that says Indiana. Is that NSAS?" He was looking at me and said, "Okay, let's take a selfie." So, but you know what it takes. You understand, as somebody who gets frequently bullied, how these things work. So I'm not new to it. I'm just giving you some examples. The first person to stab Martin Luther King close to his heart was a black woman in New York in a bookstore when he was fighting for civil rights. The people who supposedly killed Malcolm X were members of the Nation of Islam. Because, yes. So there's no leader who is doing what we're doing who doesn't go through this kind of things. But what I should say to you is that if we are not careful, a journey of Israelites that should take 40 days might last 40 years. And we don't want to go through that.
Now, sorry to take you back a little. You mentioned President. Someone sent me a video today where someone was saying you claim that President Jonathan never wanted to hold election. Was this?
Yeah, of course. Let me explain something to you.
Oh.
When I was detained at the DSS, one day, someone asked for Dasuki, and I said, "I heard this guy is detained here. Can I see him?" And they said, "No, we don't want you and Dasuki to meet eye to eye, And one day, because I'm out 1 hour every day, I was in solitary detention to come and take food downstairs. And one day they said, "Sit down in this office." It wasn't the regular office. And because Dasuki is a fan of one of these soccer clubs in the UK, I think it's Arsenal. It's an Arsenal. It was brought down to watch Arsenal game. And then they rushed me into this room, and who was sitting in front of me, Tatsuki? And I said to him, he said, Mr. President, you drove us out of office. That's what he said. And I said, well, you drove yourselves out of office. He said, why do I think so? We had a conversation, and I explained to him, he had no business going to the Chatham House to give a speech that elections cannot hold instead of telling Nigerians. You remember, they had to postpone the election. And then there was an uproar that they didn't want to hold the election. And they said it openly, that they didn't feel that the security situation was due to allow free and fair elections to happen. But because there was so much backlash, they eventually allowed the elections to happen. What Jonathan had said from the beginning, including with the national conference he set up, was that he was comfortable with a 6-year tenure, single tenure, than a repeat of his office. I mean, running for election. That was the recommendation. Anybody can go and research it. They never wanted election. It's true. They postponed that election. The announcement was made at Chatham House. So I covered that. Nobody can bamboozle me with what happened under Jonathan's time. It's the reason why, no matter how much I'm heckled or harassed by his people, I tell them they are the ones who owe Nigerians apology for the kind of corruption that was perpetrated under that regime. If anybody brought Buhari to power, it would be Jonathan. It was Jonathan's performance. And I want to be on record for historical purposes. Forget about the headline. It was Jonathan's performance that allowed the Buhari to have a chance to become president in 2015. Jonathan's performance. If Jonathan had performed very well, built the second Niger bridge in the southeast, curbed corruption, which is documented now, Nigerians would have probably been talking about a third term for Jonathan by now. And just to take us a bit back, when Jonathan was under oppression by the Yar'Adua cabal, it was the same Sahara reporters that fought for him so that he could become president. Because Yar'Adua had been brain dead 5 months before he was brought back to Nigeria. And we were reporting on it on a daily basis. Ask people in the Jonathan regime. I named Iman Iboro. He's still alive. There's another guy who's not alive. Oronto Douglas. They did everything they can to get me to work with the Jonathan regime. I refused because I'm not interested. I told them I can't survive in government for 2 days because I will be speaking my mind and the president will have no option than to fire me on NTA the next day. So I won't go to Nigeria. They came and met me and said, pack your things, let's go and work. Jonathan is your brother because, as you know, I'm in Niger Delta. I come from the part of Ondo they call Ijo Akoi, partly Yoruba, partly Delta, partly Ijo.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's nobody that can tell me a story of Jonathan. I know Jonathan like the back of my hand, and he knows that. But there is a packaging of Jonathan that's going on because they are deceiving Jonathan that he can become a presidential candidate again because people are likely to be fighting for a presidential candidate to come from the southeast. And some Northerners are very, very attuned to that. They want that because they know he will only spend 4 years if he becomes president. And they will allow them to return to power in another 4 years. But that's a conversation for another symposium discussion in the future.
You spoke about President Buhari.
Yes.
You said it was Jonathan's performance that led to his victory. Talking about his victory, I saw a video where you were celebrating his victory in 2015. The crowd with you held brooms and were chanting APC while you were carrying Buhari's photo, if I remember clearly. What's your take now? In retrospect?
That is speech, this is false, right? Complete falsehood. And I'll let you know today, that video I uploaded personally on Sahara Reporters. I covered the election. And the day the election was happening, we were at INEC. I came with a crew of Sahara Reporters from the US. We were at INEC. And we heard while we were at INEC, which was I think it was the International Convention Center in front of Radio Nigeria, that Jonathan had conceded to Buhari that he had INEC had not even done 70% of the announcement of the election when Jonathan called Buhari and said, look, I'm fine. I've lost the election. So I started heading towards Buhari's headquarters, his presidential campaign headquarters. But because of the jubilation on the streets by all these young people in Abuja on Okada, we couldn't make it there on time. My hotel was opposite Buhari's, that was Barcelona Hotel, Buhari's place. So when we arrived at the place, Buhari had not showed up. We kept waiting and waiting and waiting. When we heard that Buhari was about to come, we ran to the place. I never had Buhari's posters, this force. I was holding a camera, which I usually put around my neck. Yes, it was a camera. You can go and look at it. Don't look at the doctored part. Go to Sahara TV and you play it. When these young people saw me, they're like, Sahara reporters, they crowded around me. And they started shouting Dole. You know, they brought their flag because I was at the headquarters of Buhari's campaign. Of course, why was Sahara reporters popular at that time? We were the first to, in the history of Nigeria, project the winner of the presidential election based on what we knew. In fact, it was based on our projection that the Niger Delta minister at that time, Orubebe, went and sat in that place. What the paper he was holding was from Sahara Reporter. Said, where did they get these election results from? This was 2015. So I was mobbed by readers of Sahara Reporters at the headquarters of Buhari's campaign. Nothing more. I wasn't celebrating Buhari. Never. I could never have celebrated him because I never campaigned for him. The people who are circulating this video took it from Sahara Reporter's page because we uploaded it there ourselves around 2015. After that, just so that you know, we also came back to Abuja to cover Buhari's inauguration. When we arrived at Abuja, we came across Robert Mugabe and we interviewed him. There was an uproar because the lady who now does Keeping It Real, Adeola Fayero, interviewed her, was behind her. And it was the day we asked Mugabe, you are here in Abuja for a democratic elections swearing in. When are you going to hold democratic elections in Zimbabwe? He had no answer. Just to tell you, and that lady was celebrated around the world. Till today, if I go to the supermarket in Abuja here, people crowd around me. Does that mean that the people that are crowding around me, I'm supposed to check which wallet they are carrying or which party they belong to? It's all hubris. They make up these matters because when I challenge them, the question they were asking me at the beginning was like, oh, you campaign for Buhari, and when I challenge them, which I always do, can you provide a video or a press release or a statement that ever issued in support of Buhari? Nobody could find that. Then they went and looked for a video of people crowding around me when I was doing my official duties as a journalist. And then they started circulating it, which is what got to you now, and you believed it. But I didn't have to worry about debunking it because it's not true. I'm used to this type of, blackmail. I heard that one young guy said 3 days ago that he had an affidavit of me going to APC headquarters to agree with them for Buhari's election in 2015. I don't know where the APC headquarters is located. I swear by my mom, I don't know where it is in Abuja. I've lived in Abuja now for 6 months. I mean, almost 10 months. I don't know where APC headquarters, I don't know where PDP headquarters is located. I've never met Buhari before. Even after he won the election and he was invited to come and meet him, I refused to go meet him. I said, I have no business with Buhari. I've never been to a governor's office before. They lie against me that I work for Tinubu. I've never been to Tinubu's house before. I've never seen Tinubu eye to eye since 1999, before I left Nigeria for the US. I don't believe in Tinubu, but they package all these lies They package all these lies and present it to the public. I don't want to call the people who believe them as gullible because I don't want to be disrespectful. But it's what comes with the territory of my work. You know, they say all kinds of things. There are people who said, "Oh, Sowore bought houses in Abuja. You know, he has this and that." When I was arrested, they told me that I collected $100 million from Dubai to come and destabilize the government with Revolution Now. When they couldn't find the $100 million, and they discovered I'd never been to Dubai before, they still charged me for money laundering. When we asked them to present the evidence, they dropped the charges and then said it was because I insulted Buhari. When my lawyer, Femi Falana, said, "Oh, he insulted Buhari because the cybercrime law that says you're criminally liable if you insult somebody requires the person to come to court." So Femi Falana said, "We will bring Buhari to court to come and tell us where he saw the insult." Considering that he has ear infection, they dropped the charges too. I'm now left with one charge. I mean, one count charge of maybe two count charges of attempted treasonable felony that I was trying to overthrow the government with placards. I'm just giving you this background so that nobody will come and fool you with their usual lies about me. But the reason I don't play into this game is that there's a lot of work to be done. Probably I'm too focused. Probably I'm too unconcerned about this kind of things that it doesn't matter to me because the focus is, for me, the revolution. We have to clean up this country.
Okay, you spoke. I don't know if you can hear me clearly because people have been complaining about my audio. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you clearly, yes.
Okay, a lot of people. Sorry, you spoke earlier on about religion and politics, and aside from a few pastors, and I don't know any imam who has lent his voice. Aside from people like T.D. Jakes, Paula De Farasing, Apostle Suleiman Johnson, and now Pastor E. Adeboye, largely pastors have been quite silent on the NSAS protest. And we didn't have this silence when the tax issue came up. We didn't have silence when the Kama bill came up. We also didn't have this silence when there was lockdown and people were told to stay at home. What is your take on this? Pastors and imams and priests as well. Let's not just face only one side in religion. Let's just look at religion as a whole. What's your take on the very loud side of religion on the regarding NSAS protest?
No, I don't want to say that I share your sentiments completely about pastors. We discussed that when I was campaigning.
Yes.
Yes. Look, you handle pastors a lot because you deal on religion. I handle all of them together. As I'm speaking with you, I've been sued by several pastors, including your friend Apostle Suleiman, and also the pastor of the one of the Miracle Fire. Because I keep challenging them. I keep challenging them on my own end too. That one, they need to be more accountable to the people who bring money to church, and they hate that. I'll tell you something. Regardless of what everybody is saying here, pastors are as oppressive. A lot of these pastors, not all of them, as our political leaders. They don't tolerate dissent in their church, and they don't want to be accountable. What the only place you can hold them to account is in London, when they make the mistake of registering their charities there. The UK's Charity Commission is the only one that's going to hold them to account. But coming to NSAS, we have to hold them to the same account as every other person who have the large following. But let me tell you something that's encouraging. What we are doing, or what NSAS is doing, is forcing them to take a position. Adeboye has taken a position. You said Suleiman has taken a position. De Farasing has taken a position. Sam Adeyemi has taken a position. But it's not enough to take positions. They must put their people on the street on Sunday. Every pastor that believes in this movement should hold their service on the streets. If they are close to Lekki, go and hold it. Shebi, they don't have a problem locking down Lagos-Ibadan Expressway with Redeem. Let the Redeem have their next church service on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Block that road, because that is the most godly thing to do at this time. Is to fight against injustice. You must also understand that since this morning, a lot of imams have been holding their services on the highway. I saw one in Lekki before we started talking, a lot of it in Abuja. So we must make sure that we keep holding them to that promise to fight for justice. It was Christianity that helped in South America, right? It helped African Americans to get justice, and it's still helping today. There's no reason our own Christians to be shy about fighting for justice, especially when they can afford to be very, very loud when it comes to matters of taxes, when it comes to matters of when government is encroaching on their territory. The real territory of an average Christian is justice. The real territory of an average Muslim is justice. Because I put a hadith, it's a hadith on dua, one of the hadith on dua, on my Facebook page, not my Twitter page today. And it says, it's a Muslim hadith, it says that, the supplication of the oppressed, let nobody ignore the supplication of the oppressed, because there's nothing standing between that supplication and Allah, even if the oppressed is an unbeliever. It's the most powerful that anybody should use. And we should not shy away from calling them out on these things. I know that they have people who like to bully people. That's why I'm saying that a lot of pastors are very, very oppressive. Some pastors are like mini Buharis in their churches. The moment you touch them, Holy Ghost fire must burn you down. You must die before the next day. Don't touch my anointed. The real anointed people in the world are those fighting for justice. That is praise.
Okay, 2 questions. I'll just lump them in together so answer them together. NSAS has no leader. Do you support a movement that has no leader? And finally, what's your next politically as we sign off?
It has no leader, and I love the fact that it has no leader, because if it had a leader early in the game, they would have either bought the leader over or tried to intimidate, harass, or even jail or arrest the person. The fact that nobody could call off the strike is the beauty of this NSAS movement right now. But the question we must answer is, can it be sustained as a leaderless group? I doubt it, because there's no serious social movement in the world that survives and succeeds without some form of leadership. But what I would advise is for it to have a collegiate leadership, so that decision-making is not concentrated in the hands of one person. And also that the leadership is not interested in negotiations, because that is what killed the NFC, NANS, and all these other social movements or quasi-social movements that we should be fighting these battles today. But we need leadership for structure. We need leadership for transparency and accountability too, so that people don't just say that it's NSAS, and before you know it, they're collecting money, they're not accounting for it. You understand? NSAS can be this very amorphous way of saying, you can even go and divorce your wife and say it's because she doesn't believe in NSAS, whereas it's because you are not giving her soup money. I don't want us to get to those ridiculous levels of this is a joke. But it could get ridiculous if we just keep going without. Like I said, I've had experiences with social movements, social uprisings. In the last 30 years, I've done it. And one of it that comes to mind is Occupy Wall Street. Because it was somewhat leaderless. After a while, yes, it was contentious. It fizzled out. Black Lives Matter learned a lesson from that. They have leadership, but the leadership is not the kind of leadership that's in your face. It's kind of, they have, in fact, the co-president, the co-leader of Black Lives Matter
Right.
is Nigerian. It's a Nigerian. Well, she's of Nigerian parenthood, Opatumeti. So we can learn from all those people, but we shouldn't take it that because it's leaderless, it will succeed. But it could as well be that, you know, this might just be some sort of experience for history to record that here comes the first leaderless social movement that did wonders. Who knows? You know, we must all stand by and keep watching and keep contributing our quota.
Okay, and your next move politically, as we officially sign off?
Yeah. You said my political agenda? Or...
Your next move. What is your next move politically?
My next move is what I'm doing now, which I started in 2019. There's no way anybody can guarantee a successful political career or clean up of this country or progress without first fighting for freedom. And I've said, people ask me all the time, oh, you know, what are you doing for 2023? I said, there is 2020. We are not done yet. So why should I wait for 2023 if all of this can be resolved in 2020? And we still have like 2 months to go, and it looks like we're doing well. Maybe by 2021, we'll have a whole brand new system in place. That would be my preference. Because INEC, as it's presently composed, cannot help anybody with a good agenda to win election. This government does not believe in you. It doesn't believe in me. It doesn't even believe in an iota of the tenets of democracy. It's a morontocracy. You can understand that, what I mean.
Okay, it's been a wonderful experience having you here. Thank you so much for honoring our invite, and I do wish you a very lovely week.
You too, Daddy. Please, I hope to be back on the show again, and I wish you the same.
Very
fantastic weekend.
All right, take care, ladies and gentlemen. Omoyele Sowore, a round of applause. All right. Thank you so much, Omoyele, for honoring our invitation. Biggest shout out today goes out to my brother, Simply Victor. Thank you so much for your support and your love and for working with me to make this interview possible. Also, big shout out to all of you who turned up. Take care of yourselves, and see you Kolade. Also, big shout out to you. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'll be back here again at 6 o'clock for my daily sermon. Please make sure you join me. Take care, and God bless you all.